Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Baxter Student Ambassador Program webinar. Presenting for us this time is Kylee Peters, one of our BSAP finalists from the British Columbia Institute of Technology. Hi, Kylee, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. So just before we get started, for everyone viewing today's webinar on your computer, if you have any questions during the presentation, just type them into either the chat box or the Q&A box, which are both found in your Zoom toolbar, and those questions will be answered after the presentation has finished. Okay, Kylee, if you'd like to go ahead and share your screen, you can start whenever you're ready.
Perfect.
There we go. Yeah, we can see it.
Awesome. And I'm good to go?
Absolutely. Start whenever you're ready.
Okay, so I'm just gonna prompt this. There's lots of Spanish words that I've tried to make sure I'm pronouncing correctly, but if I'm butchering them, I'm sorry. So today I'm presenting on Cuba and WestJet. So pretty much just a little guide to Cuba and what WestJet offers when traveling to Cuba. Just a little agenda. So I'm going to talk about the geography and just some fun facts about Cuba, as well as give you a little description of popular destinations in Cuba. Then I'll get into WestJet's offerings, a couple resources that I have for travel agents, some frequently asked questions, and then finally we'll finish up with the Q&A. So here's a map that I've found. Cuba is a Caribbean island. So just to give reference, you have Florida to the north, the Bahamas to the northeast, then you have Haiti to the east, Jamaica to the south, and Mexico to the west. It's just a little more of a zoomed in picture here. So for just some random facts, Cuba is the largest Caribbean island nation. It spans 44,200 miles, and it's divided into 15 provinces. So you can kind of see that here on the map. Each of these are a province. It has a very diverse geography. So they have tons of mountains, mangrove forests, lots of white sandy beaches, obviously, tons of farmland. You get into lots of metro cities, and then a ton of little colonial beaches as well. So when you do go to Cuba, you will notice some European, African, and North American influences, which is really cool. Their official language is Spanish, which is what most people do speak there. So it is obviously in the big cities, people do speak English, but it is recommended to learn some Spanish phrases when you are there just to make it easier for everyone. And it is a subtropical climate. It does average 25 degrees there. It is located in a windy area, so it does tend to be a little bit cooler. So most of the travel sites do recommend bringing some light sweaters even when it's super hot out, just because it does get a bit cooler. The heaviest rain falls between May and October, and the average humidity is 75 to 95%, so it can get quite humid there. And another little thing for recommended for travel agents to know is the hurricane season is September and October. So popular destinations when traveling to Cuba. First, we have Havana. So this is the capital city, commercial center, tons of rich history here. This is the majority of the population, or it is a population dense area. I did read up that they actually you need to get permission if you live in Cuba to move to Havana, because they're trying to get people to live in more rural areas, kind of build that up a little bit. But this is the area that kind of you picture when you think of Cuba. It's got all those 1950s automobiles from the imposed embargo that held back a bunch of the excess of the 20th century for over 50 years. Then we have Santa Clara. So this is located on Cayo Santa Maria. It's largely development-free, great for snorkeling and fishing, and they have some really cool mangrove forests that you can explore. Then we have Olgan. This is a really cool area. They do have some bustling cities, but tons of relaxed little beach towns around, which are really cool to explore. This is known as the cradle of Cuban music. So when you step off the plane, immediately you're surrounded by cool Cuban music, and it just really has that vibe. Really great for ecotourism as well, as they do have tons of diversity in that area. Then we have Cayo Coco. So this is the high-end luxury area. It's home to many resorts, a super vibrant nightlife. This is where you're going to find some really nice fancy spas, a very relaxing high-end area. And then we have Varadero. So this is 2 hours from Havana. It's definitely one of the most popular areas to travel to, as it has so many all-inclusive experiences. Really recommended for families, honeymooners, anyone who kind of just wants to go on vacation, not have to think about too much, and just have everything kind of set out for them and they can just relax. All right, so WestJet and their offerings when traveling to Cuba. So you can fly from Canada to several different areas of Cuba. You can fly to Varadero, Cayo Coco, Santa Clara, and Olguin. And when I was looking, Toronto was the one area you could fly from Toronto to Varadero nonstop. The rest of the flights did have one or two connecting flights. So if you were to fly from Vancouver, the fastest that is available, it's about 8 hours actual flying time. And then it was about 3 hours of a layover that you did have. So it was about 11 to 12 hours up to could be 21, 24 hours, depending on your layover. But for Toronto, super quick. It's about 3.5 hours. You can fly direct. It's super easy. They do also offer some vacation packages. So I found some flights and hotels that you could book super easy for people just to book them together and you don't have to think of anything. They do have, for some more adventurous travelers, they have some homestays that you can do as well. This isn't in the vacation packages, but just general information. So that's kind of for the people who want to really live like the local and experience day-to-day life there. They also offer split stay vacations. So you could do Havana, Varadero. You can pick 3 nights at both places, and then it gives you some hotels. So you can pick which hotels you want to stay at, just so you get a little bit of each place. So this is generally targeting free spirits, personal history explorers, no hassle travelers, and rejuvenators. These are the people that they're really looking for luxury. They want to be pampered. They want to be comfortable. For personal history explorers and no hassle travelers, they are a bit anxious when they do travel. So they really like to have everything planned out for them. So this is a great option for them. They don't really have to do too much thinking on outside of booking with WestJet, which is really great. And all of these people are really pro to having a professional plan their trip for them. So again, super great option. And they just kind of want to relax and rejuvenate. So a few resources for travel agents. I found generally like a ton of my information that I have came from the destination guides that WestJet offers, which are great. So there's a general overview of Cuba, and then it went into each location as well with an overview of that location. It gave you basic information, so it has climate, geography, currency, transportation. There was some travel requirements on there as well, which is super helpful. And then it had a list of activities that travel agents could recommend based on who they're booking for. And also it listed a bunch of hotels as well in that area. So I just found that to be a super, super useful tool. And I thought that it would be really great for travel agents. And then another one is WestJet Agent. So this just started in 2017. It's all based off of suggestions that travel agents did have for a better system. So this is completely user-friendly. It now allows them to book multi-city bookings. So that's like that Havana, Varadero, where you can book 2 locations. It also had open job bookings, which allows you to leave from one spot and then go back home from another location as well. So you don't have to go from the exact same airport. And then it had a 30-day calendar view option. So this displayed 30 days with a bunch of prices, so they could really easily find a deal for their customers. And then some potential questions that travel agents are probably going to be asked. Is it safe to travel to Cuba? So in fact, Cuba actually has the lowest crime rate in the Western Hemisphere. Begging does exist in certain spots, as it is, there's a lot of poverty, but it's super minimal, non-invasive. The locals are so friendly. And another thing was, is it safe for a woman to travel there by herself? It's completely safe. It's kind of typical of everywhere when you're in a big hustling, bustling city. You want to be very aware of what's going on around you. but again, super safe to travel there. Do I need a visa? You don't need a visa for shorter travel. You just need a tourist card, which is valid for 30 days. Once you're in Cuba, it can actually be extended up to 90 days for Canadians. Americans, it was only 60 days it could be extended to. We get a little bit of a special deal here for Canadians. How is the internet access in Cuba? So all of the major hotels do have a couple computers that you can use. They have some internet cafes there that do have internet access. However, the internet access in Cuba is notoriously expensive and it's pretty slow. So this is just a great way for people to go and experience life there and not necessarily be staring at their phones the whole time. They can really experience Cuba. And then what is the currency? So Cuba actually has two currencies. They have the Cuban convertible peso, which is what the tourists use. And then they have the Cuban peso, which is the local currency. Cuban currency is not traded internationally, so you cannot buy it in advance, but it's super easy once you land in the airport to get your currency exchanged. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and I would love to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Kylie.
Thank you.
So of course, we'll open it up now for people to submit any questions that they may have.
Perfect.
Yeah, and of course the two options for that are the chat box or the Q&A box, which are both found in your Zoom toolbar. And if anyone here in the room with me has a question, I will put them on the line.
Hi, Kylie. My name is Ian Stock. I work with Dan. I've got to put you on the spot here. If you were going to go to Cuba for a vacation, where would you go? You certainly researched all the different tourist areas in the country.
Yeah, so I think I would probably, to be honest, I would avoid Varadero just because it does seem to be one of the most popular areas. I would like to go to Cayo Coco just because it looks super beachy. But honestly, I would probably avoid any of the big major cities and just kind of stick with the smaller beach towns, just because you can kind of observe a little bit more and relax and maybe do one of the homestays. I thought that was a really cool option, and just kind of see how they live their day-to-day life and get to experience authentic Cuba.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kylie.
Thanks.
Morgan says she doesn't have any questions, but well researched. And Kylie, what would you say was the biggest challenge you faced when preparing for this webinar?
I honestly, actually, it's super simple on the WestJet website to find flights, but I kind of had a hard time like figuring out if you could fly into Havana, because I was a little bit confused. I know they flew into Varadero and stuff, and it was just kind of hard to figure out from what locations you could fly into. Obviously not if you're booking. It would be pretty easy because you know where you're flying out of. But I did have a little bit of difficulty finding just general information if you're flying from anywhere in Canada to anywhere in Cuba. That was probably my biggest, the hardest thing for me to figure out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hi, Kylie. This is Emily from Baxter.
Hi.
Thanks for your great presentation. I was wondering what target markets you think Cuba is going for these days. I know you talked about different regions, so what do you think the Cayo Coco, who are they targeting?
So they seem to be a bit more of somebody looking for more of a beach vacation, luxury. Again, like the free spirits, the no hassle travelers, that seemed to be that target market. Whereas when you went into some of the smaller areas that were super cultural and like really rich in history, that would be more of the cultural explorers and the people who are just wanting to completely immerse themselves and again do those homestays, kind of live with the people. And so it kind of seemed like different regions were targeting different people depending on if you just want to chill and relax and think about nothing, as opposed to the people who want to go and fully immerse themselves. It was a great balance throughout the area, it seemed like.
That's great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kylie. Okay, I do believe that's it for the questions, but I would like to thank everyone that tuned into the webinar today. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your day. Thank you, Morgan Westcott, for attending. And Kylie, I'd like to thank you on behalf of Baxter Media for participating in BSAP 2019.
Thank you.
Thank you for your great presentation, and we'll be in touch.
Sounds good.
Okay, take care, everyone.